Hello students, in this video we will learn on how to work out problems under the heading Financial Statements, Balance Sheet, Questions which will be asked for 6 marks. Students, before we start up with the problem, you need to fix in your mind the format of the balance sheet. Here we have equity and liabilities and Roman number 2 will be assets. On the screen you can see students, I have major heads under equity and liabilities and the subheads are also being mentioned. So according to the question, your subheads will differ. Likewise, on assets, we have two major heads and you have different subheads as well. As you continuously work out the problems, these things will be much easier for you. Well students, when you're working out the 6-mark problems, we prepare the balance sheet in the vertical format. So if you see your notes, you have a different layout of balance sheet presentation. So this presentation of the balance sheet, what we call it as vertical balance sheet, which is prepared as per the Companies Act 2013. Remember students, balance sheet equation, equity plus liabilities should always be equal to assets. So therefore, follow the given format, and when you have certain notes to accounts to be prepared, I would say follow your notes to identify the various items that will come under the subheads, because under the subheads itself you will have lot of note to accounts to be prepared. So therefore, I would strictly say you that follow your notebooks. So here you have your question. From the following information, prepare balance sheet of Jindal Company Limited as at 31st March 2018 as per Schedule 3 of Companies Act 2013. Share capital 10 lakhs, reserves and surplus 5 lakh, 10% debentures 5 lakh, creditors 2 lakh, bills payable 3 lakh, fixed assets 15 lakhs, trade receivables 5 lakh, short-term investments 2 lakh, cash and cash equivalents 3 lakh. So students, as we solve the solution, remember we are preparing balance sheet for the year ending. So balance sheet is prepared as at 31st March 2018 as per the Companies Act 2013. Now, from the question we can see they have given us share capital. So share capital is a subhead which will come under the major head, what is called as shareholders fund. So there is no need to prepare note to accounts. Reserves and surplus, again this is a subhead which will come under the major head, what is called as shareholders fund. That means share capital, reserves and surplus will form equity and liability. The next information given to us is 10% debentures. Debentures are always long-term loans. So therefore, 10% debentures. For this, we will prepare note to accounts, note number 1, under the heading long-term borrowings. Next we have creditors and bills payable. Now, if you observe the previous video carefully, I have said bills payable will be treated now as trade payables. So therefore, creditors and bills payable both together, we will prepare note to accounts under the heading trade payables. Next we have fixed assets. Fixed assets to be written as it is. Trade receivables are also called bills receivables. We will write it directly. Short-term investments. That means these form current assets. Anything that is held for lesser than 12 months are called as current assets. So in the question itself, you have the clue with the word called as short term. So hence, for this, we need to prepare note to accounts under the heading current investments. And the last one being cash and cash equivalents. For this, we can directly write it in the balance sheet. Students, let's prepare the solution for the balance sheet question that is being given to us. Over here, I have directly written about the name of the company as Jindal Company Limited. We are preparing balance sheet as of 31st March 2018. I have done the format as like particulars, note number and amount columns. Over here, Roman number 1 is all about equity and liabilities. Over here, we have three major heads. I have written the first two major heads. The first one being shareholders fund and the second one is non-current liabilities. Now, as per the question, we have also followed that. We have share capital, reserves and surplus. So, I will follow the question and try to work out the solution for you in the best and the easiest manner. So, what you need to do is, students, first do the format of the balance sheet. And as per the question, start writing down the items in the balance sheet. So always you need to begin with equity and liabilities. For sure in the question they will give about shareholders fund. Shareholders fund is nothing but the capital what we are talking about, which is in the form of share capital. So you already know what is a share capital. It can be in the form of equity shares or preference shares. Followed by we have reserves and surplus. So reserves and surplus like general reserve, reserve fund, surplus in the form of profits of the business. So those things will be written under the heading reserves and surplus. Coming to non-current liabilities and current liabilities, these are the categories of liabilities. For example, we have items like long-term loans. Okay, those things will be categorized as non-current liabilities. Those items which are held for lesser than 12 months and those obligations are being paid off, then such items will be written under the category called current liability. So understanding the meaning is very important before you start up with the solutions. So, well students, so first and foremost, as per my question, I have share capital. So I will write the amount directly under share capital, which is rupees 10 lakhs. The next item is reserves and surplus. So under reserves and surplus, I will write 5 lakh. Then is 10% debentures rupees 5 lakh. So for this we need to prepare note to accounts. We cannot write directly as 10% debentures here. We need to prepare note to accounts. Note to accounts are nothing but like working notes that you normally do it in your mathematics classes. So here you have note to accounts, note number 1. So the first note number 1 is with respect to long-term borrowings. So my first long-term borrowing is nothing but 10% debentures. Amount given is 5 lakh. So that's it. I will make this as note number 1, right? 5 lakh in the amount column. The next information is creditors and bills payable. These two items will come under the heading called as current liabilities. Under current liabilities, we have trade payables. So, creditors and bills payable, let's prepare note for this. Recorded as note number 2. Trade payables. So first one I have in the question is creditors. Amount being 2 lakh. The second one is bills payable. For this amount is 3 lakh. So if you take the total 5 lakh. So come back to your balance sheet. Under trade payables, note number 2, right? 5 lakh rupees. So that's it with the equity and liabilities. One portion of the balance sheet is completed. So what do we need to do now? Total. 10 lakh plus 5 lakh plus 5 lakh plus another 5 lakh, which will give us an amount of rupees 25 lakhs. Okay. So one set of the balance sheet is done. So what's the second part? The second part is called as assets. Well, under assets, the first item that we have is non-current assets. Under this category A, fixed assets. Again, information with respect to fixed assets is being given, so let's write it directly. Rupees 15 lakhs. Under fixed assets, we have two more headings, subheadings, that is called as tangible assets, intangible assets. No information is being given, so therefore kindly leave it blank, students. The second heading is current assets. With respect to current assets, students, again if you follow the question, they have given us about trade receivables, short-term investments, cash and cash equivalents. So first and foremost, I will write current investments. You have to follow the procedure. For current investments, we need to prepare note number 3. For this, we have an item called as short-term investments. Amount is rupees 2 lakh. There's only one item, so directly I will write 2 lakh in the balance sheet. I will refer this as note number 3. Well, students, next we will write trade receivables. Information is given directly in the question. Amount rupees 5 lakh. Cash and cash equivalents. Again, information is being given directly. Amount is rupees 3 lakh. So here we come to the end of the second part, what we call it as assets. So what do we need to do now? Find out the total. Now when you're finding out the total, please make sure that your equity and liability total should be equal to your assets. So what's the formula? Asset is equal to liability plus equity. Equity is nothing but your capital, students. Do not forget this. Okay. So let's add 15 lakhs plus 2 lakh plus 5 lakh plus 3 lakh. We will get the total as 25 lakhs. So that's it with the solution, students. This will be your 6-mark question. So what you can do is, first you can prepare note to accounts and then prepare the final solution. Or you start preparing the solution, leave sufficient space, okay, how much of a space is required for you to complete the solution, and then you can begin with note to accounts. Thank you.